Hello, the name is Regis Kilbin, and the game is Heroes of the Storm. And today I'm going to be talking about my Dragon Lily build. Now, this isn't just a Serpent Lily build, this is an upgrade all the way to a Dragon. And this build essentially is anytime you need Lily to do a ton of damage, just like a ridiculous amount of damage, this build will allow you to do that. Now, a Lily is never going to be an assassin that pumps out tons and tons of damage, but in chaotic moments and in team fights, she can be a healer that places second or maybe even third on the damage charts thanks to a lot of incidental poke, kind of sustained damage that lasts and is free throughout the entire fight. So she's not going to burn anybody down with insane amounts of burst, but she can soften up an enemy team's defenses and weaken them pretty severely for your assassins to pick them off. So this build is probably not the kind of build you're going to want to play if you're the only healer on your team. But if you have a secondary support, like a Tyrande or a Tassadar, or if you just don't have a good solid tank and a couple of assassins, and you run two supports, this is the kind of build that can fill in as a second support without sacrificing too much damage. It also has some utility with Lily's blinds, so you can do a lot of different things pretty well. Without further ado, let's go ahead and run through the talents real quickly. At level 1, we're going to take Timeless Creature, then Mending Serpent, then Lightning Serpent, then Water Dragon, Surging Winds, Serpent Sidekick, and finally Kung Fu Hustle. So now that you know the talent breakdown, let's go ahead and hit those up one by one to see why we're taking every one of these talents. So up first is Timeless Creature. This increases the duration of Cloud Serpent by 50%. Now, of course, Cloud Serpent is your W ability that gives you a cute little serpent that will attack anything that's in its range. It has a standard cooldown of 10 seconds and a duration of 8 seconds. So if it's not upgraded, it will time out before you can recast it. But with this upgrade, you can essentially keep your Cloud Serpent up all the time and always. The only thing you do have to note is that you shouldn't cast your Cloud Serpent again as soon as the cooldown is up, because you'll see it's still alive when the cooldown is up. There's a 2-second overlay, so you are going to waste some mana if you cast it immediately as soon as it's up. You really do need to wait like that second half to 2 seconds to make sure that you're efficient. But you also want to make sure that your Cloud Serpent is on all the time with this build. Unless you're in the base or running towards a fight, if you're anywhere close to minions or enemies, you need to have that Cloud Serpent up. That's how you do your damage with this build. And this is the high damage dragon build, so of course you want to make sure you're doing that damage. At level 4, we're going to take Mending Serpent. So this actually is not the biggest damage increase talent in this tier. That would be Mass Vortex. It technically allows you to do a little bit more damage. But as Lily, we are still a support, and we want to offer that healing utility. So Mending Serpent allows us to do that. With Mending Serpent, anytime you cast your W on yourself or a teammate, they get heals when it attacks, and given that we're going to have serpents all over the place with this build, those heals really do start to add up and take the pressure off of your Q. So it's mana-free heals that benefit from chaotic fights and busy moments. And those are always really nice to have, and you can't underestimate the influence they have in a long fight. So level 7, we're going to take Lightning Serpent. Cloud Serpent's attacks bounce to 3 nearby enemy targets, dealing 32 damage to each. So that's a 50% of the original damage of 64. So it'll hit one thing for 64 and 3 things around it for 32. You'll see here the tower is taking 32 damage now and then. So that's great against minion waves. It's also nice in hectic team fights if people are clumped together. Again, that's small little chunks of damage happening one at a time, but they do add up over long-term fights in major ways. I mean, even a 10 or 15 second fight, you're talking about 300 or 400 damage on 3 or 4 people, as opposed to 32 damage at a time. So don't underestimate that again. It stacks really quickly, and over a 20-minute match, you'll be stunned just how much damage Lightning Serpent can put out. It also makes you better at clearing minions and doing siege damage, so there's some small side benefits as well. It should be noted that the bouncing attacks from Lightning Serpent do not proc the heals on Mending Serpent. So you don't get any extra healing from Lightning Serpent here. You used to in an old patch, but that made Lily ridiculously overpowered, and that has since been nerfed. Level 10 for our heroic ability, we're going to take Water Dragon. Yes, 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 Water Dragon, that's right. Jug of 1,000 Cups is amazing. Undoubtedly a great heroic, but it is susceptible to stuns in high-level plays and can be difficult to get off. And this build is all about doing damage, and it is named the Dragon build after all. So you probably knew we were going to go with Water Dragon here. Water Dragon, I think, is actually one of the most underrated heroics in the game. It has a nice little damage component. It's 420 damage. It's not going to kill anybody, but it's notable. And it delivers a 70% slow for 4 seconds. That is unbelievably dangerous to an enemy. 70% slow practically means they're not moving at all. We'll see if we can show this off on Arthas or not. I don't know if he'll want to run. He might just want to stand still. Yeah. Let's toggle cooldowns here. Run away, Arthas. Oh yeah, see there you can see how slow he's moving. That is essentially a frozen character, which means that's something akin to like a 2 or 3 second stun that allows your team to absolutely catch anybody out that's caught in it and finish them off without remorse. So it's a great way to pick off enemy heroes. And with this Lily build, you're essentially going to be getting right in the middle of the enemy team. You want 4 or 5 guys around you. You want to be absorbing damage. You want your serpents to be going off like crazy. And if you catch somebody at the tail end of a fight who's trying to escape, or somebody who has overextended just a little bit too far into your team's territory, getting that Water Dragon off can get you a guaranteed kill, essentially. And it should be noted, too, that it has a 45-second cooldown. So sometimes this can happen twice in one fight, right? You can use Water Dragon so quickly that it's up for every single skirmish. So it's not something you need to save or hold on to for the right moment. That's a really, really short heroic cooldown. In fact, one of the shortest. You'll note Jug of 1,000 Cups has a 70-second cooldown, and it's actually pretty short as well. And that cooldown is going to be even better when we get to level 20 with Kung Fu Hustle. So it can do a lot of work, and it does give this build its name and help define its purpose. At level 13, we're going to go with Surging Winds. This is, again, I think an underrated talent because I'm not sure people understand exactly what it does. This talent allows you to gain 5% ability power. Now that's a keyword you don't often see in Heroes of the Storm, but 5% ability power for 8 seconds for every enemy hit by Blinding Wind. So anytime you hit somebody with your E, your little tornadoes, we can get some minions out here, your ability power will increase by 5% for each person that's hit. Now right now our Blinding Wind will hit 2 people, so that means we get a 10% upgrade. You'll notice that our Water Dragon was hitting for 70 instead of 64, right? And the small hits were hitting for 35 instead of the 32 we'd seen earlier. So that's that 10%. Now that may not sound like a lot, 10%. You know, it's six damage essentially on that Water Dragon. But again, over the course of the fight, when that hits 10, 15, 20 times in a long skirmish, you're talking about 600, 900, 1200 damage that adds up. Now that's damage they either have to heal or fight through, so you can't ignore the significance of that. 10% is actually pretty big, even though it's 6 damage at a time. As often as that Water Serpent is attacking, you're talking about some pretty big gains. Every 10 attacks, you know, it's 60 extra damage. Over 4 different characters being hit, it's even more. So don't ignore the significance of Surging Winds. A second note about Surging Winds that a lot of people don't know is that it also increases your Q heal. So it makes you a better healer as well. I'm just going to show this off real fast. Get some more minions out here to hit. So our Q right now hits for 430. We're going to take some damage, and then we're going to do that, and then we're going to Q for 473. So again, a nice little 10% increase on our heal shouldn't be overlooked. I like this ability, and plus, the other talents here really don't give us too much. Elusive Feet, it's defensive. Hindering Winds is a decent slow, but doesn't accomplish a lot. And Shrink Ray is another defensive ability that doesn't make us do more damage, and we don't care about that. So, Surging Winds is the right talent for this build. Up next is the level 16 talent, Serpent Sidekick. You also gain a Cloud Serpent whenever you cast it on another ally. So I can turn on Malfurion and we'll see this in action. So now we have 2 Cloud Serpents. Now all these benefits we talked about before with our Cloud Serpent doing amazing things, suddenly that's doubled at level 16, which is kind of a power spike in a sense for this build. It's more damage, it's more healing, it's more poke, it's more chaos in team fights, adding up over and over again to really contribute more damage than you'd ever expect from your support or your secondary healer. So, Serpent Sidekick essentially doubles the effectiveness of this build. You're going to do everything twice as well as you were before. So, when you get to level 16 here, you can really start to work wonders with your Serpent Sidekick talent here. And at level 20, finally, we're going to go with Kung Fu Hustle. Ability cooldowns refresh 150% faster while your Fast Feet trait is active. So Fast Feet, if you don't know, anytime you take damage, this activates. And when you're taking damage, that means your ability cooldowns are happening 150% faster. So more than twice as fast, right? You can look how quickly. Oh, I have cooldowns turned off. That's gonna make that look a little worse. But let's time this. See, it's. I'm not taking enough damage. Let's refresh our forwards too. Sorry for the poor displays here. Okay. Let's show this off correctly. So watch these cooldowns. How quickly we're healing. How quickly our E is proccing. You can see just time being shredded off of those cooldowns. So at level 20, Lily is just like a machine. She just gets in the middle of fights, starts taking tons of little poke damage and area of effect damage, and you just go nuts with your abilities. You're practically constantly up as long as you're taking any kind of incidental damage. And that's really what this build is all about, right? It's about those little ticks of damage and the little ticks of heals and all those little things adding up over the course of a 30-second fight or a minute-long fight or a 30-minute match. It's those little incidental moments, and when you add 10, 15, 20, 30 of them together, suddenly you look at the scoreboard and Lily has 80,000 hero damage and 80,000 siege damage and leading and healing as well. So she can be someone who tops all of the charts and contributes more than you'd ever expect as a healer. Now, that said, this build is not perfect for every team composition. It's not perfect for every game. But when you find those scenarios where you can play Lily as a damage character, say for instance you queue into quick matches Lily and you've got a medic or you've got a Rhaegar there beside you, that's the perfect time to play this build. Sacrifice a little bit of healing and go for that aggression instead. Lily has some potential as a high damage character, and that's why I wanted to point out this high damage dragon build. I wish you luck out there playing this alternate look at Lily. It's truly, in my opinion, one of the most fun ways to play this character and one of the most fun ways to play any character in the game. It's just so action-packed and hectic and crazy that you can kind of get lost in it and just have tons of fun. So enjoy this build, good luck on the ladder, and until next time, game on.